Hey everyone, it's Nate from Sprite Lovers here for another episode of PlayStation Pursuit. Now in this episode I want to talk about the first part of a bunch of games that I got from my friend Chris Lake. Now, if you recall a few episodes back, I got the Misadventures of Tron Bonne as well as Lunar 2 and Ark the Lad Collection and Alien Trilogy from him. Well, those games, as I mentioned before, were from a lot of PS1 games that he got in bulk. And what he ended up doing, aside from those ones I instantly wanted, was he was letting me basically take any one that I didn't have and I could set aside and then pay off layaway style in little chunks to pay it off. So making it easier on me, but also he's getting proper value for the games that he's offering me dibs on first when he could easily sell these elsewhere. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate letting me do that. And there's a lot of games that I didn't have from the lot that he got, so I'm going to break it up into several episodes. Aside from those, I also got a couple other random pickups that I'm going to show at the end of the video as well. So stick around and I will show you what those are. Okay, so these games that I'm going to show off, they range from, good, mediocre, to some of the fillerware, but stuff I'll need for this complete collection. So I'm going to start with some of those filler games, and the first one is NBA Live 98. Simple basketball game, nothing to write home about, but one I didn't have. Cabela's Ultimate Deer Hunt Open Season, which I have another Cabela's game that I showed a couple episodes back, but this is one I didn't have. This one is in a 2-disc case, but is a 1-disc game, and it's all cracked up, so I'm going to replace the case someday anyway, but it is Vegas Games 2000, so just a series of casino games, but cool to have. Now this one is a variant. I have this one, but I don't have this version of it. The game is Dino Crisis, but you'll see on the front it isn't a sticker or anything. It's actually on the manual. It says bonus includes a Resident Evil 3 Nemesis demo disc. So I didn't have that version, and like I said, when I know there is a variant, I try to go for that as well. So got that one from Chris. Thank you. Now this is one of my favorite games in the arcade and on the Nintendo 64. Dreamcast one slightly under that. This is supposed to be the worst version of it, but I wanted to get it anyway, and that is Gauntlet Legends. So glad to have that interesting choice of the bright pink disc. I thought that's kind of cool, but it also has the bright colors of the 4 characters, so it kind of goes with the very colorful style they went for. This is one of the many in the series that there is for PlayStation and Nintendo 64, and probably some other systems too. Army Men. This is World War Land, Sea, Air. So this one looks to be, well, it has a variety of gameplay styles shown on the back, some on-foot missions, and then turret controls and shooting down airplanes and stuff. So probably a mix of things in that version. And some of those games are really bad, and some of them aren't really bad. They're just kind of generic, but I kind of liked them. Interesting concept of the toys to life kind of thing. This one is actually sealed, but shredded up a little bit. But it's a third-person spaceship shooter. The first one I think I played on Saturn called Solar Eclipse. This one is Total Eclipse Turbo. So I haven't done too much research on this version, but as you can see, it is sealed. It's got like a couple cracks in the case and stuff, so when I do crack open the seal fully, I can replace the case. But for now, I'm just going to leave it sealed. It even has the top sticker and hangy tab thing. And then I got 2 more from this part 1 of Chris's Layaway, which me and him were joking around. I was calling it Lakeaway because his last name's Lake, so thank you, Chris Lake, for the Lakeaway. And then I have the fighting game X-Men Mutant Academy here, which I don't know if I've ever played, so I'll be glad to check that one out. And I've passed this one up a couple times at stores, so glad to have gotten that one from the lot. And then the last one I have is a cool Midway Classics collection called Arcade Party Pack. And as you can see, it has 720, Smash TV, Clax, Rampage, Super Sprint, and Tubin. I think that's all that's on there. But pretty cool. I always like the retro comps, and pretty cool to have this one. So that's all from what I got from the Lakeaway stack. So this will be part 1 of Lakeaway, and I'll do some other episodes talking about the Lakeaway games. But I do have a couple more. Stick around. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite series on the original PlayStation, and then when we come back, I will show off the few other games that I got this month. Okay, so for the PlayStation favorites this week, I'm actually going to talk about a series, not in a ton of detail because I don't want to spend too much time on the series, but I did want to kind of touch on each of the entries on the PlayStation 1. It's a very popular series that's still going today, but I have a place in my heart for this original 4 titles here. And there were some other spin-offs on the PlayStation 1, but I'm just looking at the first 4 in a row that I really hold dear to my heart. The series began on the 3DO and then it was ported to the Saturn and PlayStation, and that is Need for Speed. Now the first game, as you can see, was called Road and Track Presents the Need for Speed. So it was kind of sponsored by the magazine Road and Track, which I don't know if it's still going today, but it is a car enthusiast magazine. And it was pretty cool to see that they put a lot of care into the cars, the history of the cars, the realism of the cars. There's like little factoid videos and stuff that tell you a lot about each of the cars you can race as, and there's even highly detailed 2-dimensional cockpit views for each of the cars, so it had a really nice sense of realism, but it's not a simulation racer. It's actually very arcadey in the way it plays. So somebody like me who likes arcade racers really enjoyed this game and this series because it didn't go right out the gate Gran Turismo or even more of a simulation style racer, but it gives the car enthusiast a lot of rich details and stuff about the cars. One of my favorite things about this series is that the tracks are more like real world locations. They're not tracks, they're not, you know, looped track. I mean, they sometimes lap, but they're not just race tracks. They're streets, there's traffic, there's weather effects. You feel like you're driving through cities and the countryside and little towns, and I always like that. That to me is my preferred style of racer, is in places that feel like you're in the real world and not just on a track. Track racing's fun, but I find this a little more fun. So the first game, got to give it major props for what it brought to racing at the time and how well it was executed first game out of the gate. Now this game I know a lot of people don't like, and that is Need for Speed 2. Now it kind of still has the 2D cockpit view, has a lot of the realistic cars and, you know, information about them, but it went a little more arcadey. There's it doesn't like really add much to the first game, so that's one reason I think it kind of lost some of the luster, but I still really enjoy it. It was a super fun game, tons of tracks and a lot of fun with each of those tracks. I think they had a little more customization to the cars, but gameplay-wise, it really didn't change too much. So, for better or worse. But I really like this game as well. Lots of memorable tracks, and there's even a fun secret track that's kind of like a Hollywood-esque track with movie monsters and a part that you go through like a space-looking area. So I thought that was a fun little track. Like I said, very arcadey. And a lot of people, I remember reviews back in the day were a little more average, probably because it didn't really add too much more to the series. But the next major game in the series was Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit. Now this game did add a lot. It added the Hot Pursuit mode where cops would chase after you, and they would also set like spike traps and other things, roadblocks to try and stop you. And at the time, it was really monumental, especially graphically for the PlayStation. It was really cool because the nighttime tracks, or tracks with nighttime turned on, when you were chased by the cops, the lighting was fantastic of the red and blue police lights. And I also like that there's different cop cars depending on the tracks you were on. If you were in like a more country road style track, there was like those brown old Chevy looking cop cars that you'd see in old movies and stuff. So it really felt like the action matched the levels you were on. And the tracks were once again fantastic, and really cool the way they felt like real world locations. And I even remember a lot of like foliage and the way highways crossed over the road and everything was really cool and made it really feel like you were driving in actual locations, like I said. And then the last Need for Speed game that I really liked on the platform is Need for Speed High Stakes. I always consider this the fourth one, even though it's just got a subtitle High Stakes, and there was like a Porsche-focused one and V-Rally and stuff on PS1. I still feel like this one falls in line with the first 3. And this one really is just an extension of Hot Pursuit. Has the police chases, except this time I think you can be a cop as well. And you could, in multiplayer, have a cop versus the escapee mode, but I think in this, even in the single player mode, there was a like chase style thing where you were a cop. And I think there's also like it's called high stakes because I think you can make wagers on your races and stuff. But admittedly, when I played this back in the day, I think I used a code to unlock all the tracks and I just raced freeform. But it seems like it has a pretty detailed single player mode if you want to play it that way. And my favorite thing about this one is, as I mentioned before about the tracks being in real world locations, I remember the tracks in this really took that even further. They just looked great, the graphics were awesome, the lighting was perfect. I mean, there's like sunset stages that really just nail, even with the PlayStation graphics, nail that realism, that the way the tone of the lighting looks. And I thought that was one of my favorite things about this. So if you've never played the Need for Speeds for the original PlayStation, I definitely recommend checking them out. They're really fun, and obviously the series is still going today, and some of the games are still fantastic, and some of them are a little more lackluster, but I really like that this franchise has lasted this long. So if you've never played any of these ones, definitely check them out. Okay, so I only have 3 other games besides the stuff from Chris Lake, but these were ones I actually was really happy to get. So first one is a action racer game. There's almost like a genre on PS1 I've noticed of racing games that are kind of like more actiony or destruction based or something. This kind of falls in that category, but I haven't played this one, but I've always looked at it, and it's called Tokyo Highway Battle. Looks really cool. Looks like a fast-paced Japanese style racing game, so I'm always more of a fan of the arcade racers, so glad to have that one. And then this one I've been looking for a while. There's 2 versions of it on the PS1, and I wanted this variation for a specific reason. It is Mega Man 8 Anniversary Collector's Edition, and as you can see, it says includes full color anthology booklet in this gold circle, which is printed on the manual. It's not a sticker. I always find either the other version, which I still want to get for the variants on the system, or I'll find it and it won't actually have the anthology booklet. And this little booklet right here is the anthology booklet. So I've found it many times without this booklet in there. But it's only a few pages, but I wanted to get it complete, and I waited until I finally found it at the store Micro Game local to me. So, and it was cheap, so very glad to add that one to the collection. And this last game here is one I've wanted for a long time. I got this at a significant discount from the actual going rate, which is climbing, and probably even more than when I got it. It's probably still climbing. It is technically almost like the 3rd Kingsfield game for the PS1, but it is called Shadow Tower. It's got a really cool brooding cover with this tortured soul on the front. First-person dungeon exploring RPG, just like the Kingsfield series, made by From Software, who are famous for the Souls series of games. And I've watched a lot of video footage of this before. It always looked really cool. And I remember passing this up for 40 to 50 bucks 2 years ago at Too Many Games. So, and it's just gone up from there. But I did get a really good deal on it. So this is definitely the highlight of this week. But if you see that cheap anywhere, grab it now, because it's just going to keep going up and up. So that's all the games for this week. Let me tally them up from the last episode, and I'll let you know where I'm at. Okay, so I am now up to 516 games for the PlayStation 1. So, trucking along, and the Lakeaway stack is much higher than what I showed today, so I still have more to make that number even higher in future episodes. But I'm going to pepper them in between other episodes so we can pace out the collection as it grows. So, thank you once again for watching. I always say it, but if you can like, subscribe, etc. to the video and to my channel, really appreciate it. And also like my Facebook page, Sprite Lovers, as well, so we can talk about stuff not just pertaining to the PlayStation Pursuit, which is the focus right now. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.